Nice to see you. How are you?
Fine. Hello, everybody. Today, our guest is Stephanie Manasseh. She's joining us from New York City early in the morning. Thank you, Stephanie. It is,
Early.
it is
Yes, it's
early.
fine.
It's late
It's okay. I'm
afternoon.
an early riser.
Late afternoon here in Istanbul. We have a beautiful sunny day here.
Oh,
Thank you for
lovely.
joining us. You are an art advisor. You have also many great projects, like startup projects on art, and we want to listen to you. First of all, your background is art historian, as I understood. How you started this journey? Could you
This journey,
tell us?
yeah, I'll tell you. Actually, I'm not an art historian. I'll give you a little bit of background about myself. I'm originally a child of immigrants in Canada. My parents moved from Israel to Canada in the 60s and settled in Montreal. And yeah, I was raised there. My mother is an artist and was a very prolific one. I was raised with art my whole life. Okay, now I see everybody. Nice to see everyone. And yeah, so I studied at McGill University. I actually studied education, and I left in the 90s to go live in Prague. And I lived there and I taught English for 4 years. I had a wonderful experience living in Europe. And from there, I got married, and my husband was a diplomat, and we moved to Milano. And when we were in Milan, I wanted to try to push, to get my mother's work recognized, to get her into a gallery. And I, went door to door trying to understand also the system, because the art world was very new to me at the time. And I realized that actually for artists, it's very difficult. There are so many artists out there. It's very, very difficult to get recognized, to get into a gallery, to have shows. And I didn't have much luck. And from there we moved to Belgium, also on assignment. It was supposed to be 1 year, and now we've been there 16 years. And again, I tried to meet with people in the art world, and I realized that it's actually a very closed world. um, and 16 years later, I mean, things are very different. So when I arrived in Belgium in 2004, I was pregnant with my first child, and I decided to meet with more artists, to go to events and things. And what I realized is that I sh- I think my calling was to create something for artists without galleries, because there were no events like that at the time, and I created the Accessible Art Fair. So this art fair 13 years ago was very new on the market. And, it was almost unheard of that artists self-represent. Now things are very different, as we can see, through various events around the world. But yeah, Accessible Art Fair was new on the scene. At first, there was a lot of reticence around it, but now it's accepted as an event on the arts calendar in the world, and I'm very proud of that, of how things have developed with that. And then I should also say that in the midst of all that, I also did some studies, some curatorial studies at Goldsmiths, and also art business at Sotheby's Institute of Art. So lots and lots and lots of things happened, but my main event was Accessible Art Fair. Now, of course, Accessible Art Fair is on hold until next year. We hope next October. But yeah, it's been quite a journey.
Would you like to explain us a bit this accessible art fair? I mean, what do you suggest to young artists?
So Accessible Art Fair, as I said, was is an opportunity for artists who are self-representing or who work with galleries in a non-exclusive fashion. And artists send in their applications, and then we work. It's already been like I think 4 or 5 years that we work. 4 years we work with a very important jury that looks at all the applications and reviews them. And I can tell you a little bit about our jury a little bit later. And it's an opportunity for these artists to get together over 4 days in a wonderful location in Belgium at Beaux-Arts. And the artists are there and they meet the public, they meet the collectors, and they also meet each other, which is a wonderful thing because what we see is that there's actually a lot of camaraderie between the artists, which you don't necessarily see in the big art fairs across the world, you know, at the galleries. So yeah, it's an opportunity, and the artists are there for 4 days, and it's a selling exhibition. And yeah, it's been quite a journey.
So, do you keep also a database of these artists?
Absolutely.
Is it possible to go before and flip around the previous year's participations?
So on the website we have, I think, the last 2 years, but that's actually a good idea. I mean, we can put previous participants from the last 13 years even. And what's nice is that because generally we have such a nice relationship with the artists, is that we work with them on various projects afterwards. And for example, now we're doing a digital pop-up event on our website, and we're working with a pool of 30 artists that we worked with in the past, and that's really fun. But yeah, I would actually take that advice and put some of maybe the last 10 years, so people can also discover the evolution of the fair, the evolution of the artists. But yeah.
Stephanie, you're doing also lots of great projects for companies. What about that? Could you tell us about this? It's very interesting. Recent project.
Yes, I've worked I've worked with a lot of various brands, because I realized with time that brands see a lot of value working with within the arts. So I launched, for example, a project with Mont Blanc. Mont Blanc, the pens. I worked with them for 3 years, I think, and 1 year we did a project where people can vote for their favorite artist at the Accessible Art Fair. And that artist, afterwards, Mont Blanc bought that work of art that people were voting on. They bought it for their collection in Hamburg. So it was a really nice opportunity for the artists to have their work showcased in their collection, which is a very big deal. So yeah, I always try to link brands with art, and it's worked out very nicely. I also worked with American Express several times, where American Express card holders can exchange points for artworks. So I did a whole catalog with them on this project, and it was just fantastic.
When did you do that? This for art.
I'm trying to think. Probably 5 years ago, something like that.
Mm-hmm. So
something like that. Yeah.
The artworks in question are the artworks to the artists to the artists that you are connected with, or to the Accessible Art Fair artworks?
Well, with this particular thing that we did with Amex, that was at the art fair. So we had a special evening for platinum card holders, where they had a catalog with the works that they could exchange for points, and it was really nice because the collectors were going very fast around to make sure that they had first access to the works, and for the artists, it was a fantastic opportunity to be part of this project.
This is a great idea. Do you think to repeat this with some other companies? I mean, the idea of
I would love to.
Mm-hmm. The idea of
yeah, I would love to
with art. Now, Stephanie, here is a question for you. As an economist, I always worked on the role of art in an investment portfolio. I mean, and then whether art is an investment tool or not. But now more and more, I keep thinking that art maybe is a good marketing tool. What do you think about that?
Art is a marketing tool for who?
For anyone who is interested.
For anyone. So for brands, for example, I think that this is my experience, and here, I'll tell you about a little bit about the work that I'm doing here in Massachusetts. I realize that actually, art is a huge marketing tool, and brands are looking to align themselves more and more with art and to show their affinity with art. I think it makes them, um, I think it's a very powerful tool uh, for marketing. And I see it more and more. I see it more and more. I mean, maybe it's the confidence that I have now with the experience that I have, that I see that there's more affinity, or it's always been that way. But I don't know. My impression is that brands and companies are using art as a marketing tool, and it's a very nice way to show affinity to the arts, to work with artists.
Do you think that that may push some other firms to start collecting? I mean, I'm talking about institutional collections, and do you think that?
Yeah, it's been with COVID, it's been a very strange time, because what we're seeing is that a lot of corporations, big companies, are selling their works off. We saw that with Deutsche Bank, and we see it, not sure with UBS, but we saw it with a few other organizations where they're selling their art. But what I'm understanding is that they are using those funds to actually buy different art. It's not that they're
Mhm.
selling it off. So I think what we're going to see is a shift in the type of collecting. Maybe that, old masters and modern art will be switched over for contemporary, but this is something that we're gonna see in the next year or so, because with COVID, so much has happened.
What do you think about digital art collecting? Um, and the
Actually, I don't know that much about digital art, but I'm learning, and I see how important digital art projects, they're taking a lot of momentum. um, I'm working here in Massachusetts, and I'll tell you about the project that I'm doing. And we're working on AR projects, so augmented reality, and how to incorporate augmented reality to actual sculpture. And I was talking to a psychologist, and they're saying that the generation below me, and younger audiences want to engage with art in such a different way than my generation. Their attention span is very different. They, with social media and everything, they're completely bombarded with information constantly. So we have to touch them in very different ways. If they look at a Picasso, they're going to spend much less time than someone my age, for example. I see with my teenage children as well. The way they look at art is very different. So AR now seems to be compensating and trying to to attract audiences in a very different way. So digital art, I think that's the next thing that's going to happen in the art world. We see that with Superblue. Pace is launching Superblue, and it's all about digital art. And I think, and they have their finger on the pulse, and they know exactly what audiences are looking for.
There is Team Lab, there is Refik Anadol. I don't know, Refik
Exactly.
Anadol. He's gonna be
Yeah.
also our guest in upcoming
Oh,
weeks.
nice.
So this is a huge thing. Now,
Yes.
among the collectors with whom you work with, what is the degree of interest towards digital art and towards the classical art, digital art versus classical art? I mean,
Yeah.
um,
Well, with collectors, it's really difficult. I think the collectors that I work with are mostly, looking for, traditional painting sculpture. But now I'm working on a project potentially for a big client. And this is a public facing client, and it's in hospitality, and they absolutely want to incorporate an AR project into our offering. So I think that more and more and more we're going to see corporate art collecting, which will include a digital component. I think personal, like, regular collectors, I haven't seen anyone who wants to incorporate digital art into their collection so much from the work that I do. But so I don't really have much experience in that realm. But I think that for corporate clients, we're going to see, like going into a bank and seeing the collection, there probably will see more and more AR and digital incorporated.
Mhm. So, do you participate to online auctions for your clients? And what do you think about online auctions?
I don't participate in online auctions for my clients. Generally, I think what we're doing with Accessible Art Fair is just a digital sale, a sale of artworks online. But yeah, it's not really my domain to participate in online auctions. And what I think about them, I think now, especially, we've seen such a surge in buying online. It would be interesting to see that if after COVID people will continue to buy online. But I mean, it's great that the trend has been to go up, in online buying.
Related to young artists, I mean, what do you think about this competition? I mean, every year new art graduates enter into the art market. There's huge number of artworks
Yes.
from young artists, and we know that on the top there are few famous artists keep selling. What will
Yes.
the future look like for this younger artists and younger artists from distant geographies? I mean, younger artists from New York
Yes.
City is much better, in a much better condition than the one from distant geographies.
I'll tell you, I mean, I have always said that the art world is divided in two. There's the blue chip and then there's the rest. The blue chip stands, so these are the Jeff Koons and Anish Kapoors and all the big guys. They are a separate entity to the rest of the artists. So these worlds work in parallel, and it's very hard for one to penetrate the other. There is only a certain amount of blue chip galleries out there, and the rest, there are some nice galleries, but it's just definitely not at the same level as the blue chip, and the penetration is very difficult to achieve for artists. That's why, I mean, with Accessible Art Fair, it's an attempt to offer an opportunity to artists who are alone, who are doing their work, but need an opportunity to sell their work. So Accessible Art Fair has offered that platform. Now it would be great if we can grow that event even more so. I've been focused on Belgium, and I did one event in New York. But I see more and more that there's such a demand for these kinds of events for artists, because otherwise, I mean, where are the opportunities? I think it's quite difficult. It's quite difficult for artists to get out there.
This is also related to the fact that probably collectors and art lovers are interested to discover the artist at a very low stage of his activity in order to
Yes.
generate the highest expected returns. Do you think that promoting young artists on this premise is a good idea, or people are afraid of spending money in this market?
Well, I never claim that the artworks that I sell are for investment. I think it's really an investment for your environment. It's an investment for yourself. It's an investment maybe in a young artist. So yeah, at the fair, we never claim that this is going to be the next big artist, blue chip ever. But it's really an opportunity to connect with artists directly, and I think that there's so much value in that. And also, having said that, I don't know if you know that we work with a jury of a lot of the esteemed people that you've had on
Please
this.
name your jury. Some of them
Yeah,
we
the
know.
jury is fantastic. Probably one of the most famous is Simon Dupury, and he's been on our jury for 3 years, and he's fantastic. He's a real champion of promoting emerging artists. And I think when I contacted him, he responded right away that he was very interested in the concept, and that's great because when we have guys like him supporting us, we realize that that there is a future, in supporting emerging talent. We also have Kenny Schachter, who you've had
Yes, he
also
was.
speak, and he's
Yes,
quite a character, but he's also very, very supportive.
we love him.
And yeah, yeah, he's great. We also have Sean Arp. She worked for Gagosian for many, many years. And actually, it's so funny because I gave a lecture at her university when she was studying, and then she came
Oh,
back to me, and she was working for Gagosian, and in her way, she supported us by being part of our jury.
so
And Sylvain Lévy, of course. Do you know Sylvain Lévy?
I heard the name, but not in person.
Sylvain Lévy is a huge collector of Chinese art, and he actually, in terms of digital art, he's absolutely the right person to talk to because he's done like a whole digital museum for his collection of Chinese art. So I'd be happy to introduce you. He's a fantastic man.
Great, great. I will be very happy. So this jury is a
Yes.
fixed jury, or you reshuffle the jury,
We
every
reshuffle a
2
little
years?
bit. Yeah, we reshuffle a little bit, but Simon is always sort of at the head of our meetings, and he's the most colorful character. Always has things to say that are significant about the art world, and I hope to keep him, of course, on the jury, and I'm very grateful of his support.